The breakthrough orchestrated by Lord Yoshishige and General Kurokawa now spelt doom for the Matsuda. Rapidly they lost half of their remaining territory, while the momentum of the Otomo army seemed to be continually renewed, even with hostile populations refusing to cooperate. The secret was that the spread of Christianity was becoming so rapid that even on the eve of invasion they could find enough loyal locals to administer the area on behalf of their mutual heavenly lord. Now it was Yoshiaki's turn to break the lines and bring the fight to their final strongholds.
It's already starting. Did anything important happen? No, Lord. They've just arrived also. Wait, Lord, get down! So that's those matchlocks. Is everyone okay? Their shooting is so accurate. The front line is in great danger, my lord. We can't move until our reinforcements arrive. The best men are yet to enter the battle. Lord, there are no banners in sight. At this rate, we'll be wiped out in but a few breaths. Calm down. They can't keep firing. I've heard those things overheat quickly. Lord, I suggest we either attack them now or retreat. We can't retreat before our men arrive to outflank them. We'll defeat their matchlocks with a hail of arrows, then keep waiting. Yeah, we've already lost most of the samurai. Lord, we need to fetch the signal banners from the camp. I'll return shortly. Quickly then. And you, tell the men to stop lying down. Those shots can't hit them at this distance. It's perfectly safe.
Hello there, welcome back to Barbarian Masters, where we're attacking this Matsuda army that was blocking the road towards their capital, and little do they know their giant reinforcement army has been sabotaged, so it can't take part in the fight. They're sending forward skirmishers to engage with our matchlocks, who so far have defeated 2 units of enemy samurai. The problem for the enemy now is that my bow samurai behind the matchlocks have the range to take part in this fight, and even without them we probably would have won, so this is going to be a very favourable skirmish for us. Very, very quickly, a couple more enemy units are destroyed and flee from the battlefield. So already we're gaining a massive advantage before the fight even starts. They send forward the rest of their archers, this time on the other flank, to try and do the same thing, but they're going to get much the same result. I noticed that for some reason, these archers weren't actually targeting my matchlocks. They're firing over the top into our archer line just behind. That's perfect for us because our archers are much more expendable and are probably contributing less to this fight. And they're even targeting specifically the Ashigaru. I guess they wouldn't get many kills against the samurai due to their armor, so they're going to get good numbers on that attack, but it's not going to have much effect. Soon they're dead, and now the rest of the enemy army, what's left of it, decides to just charge forwards and have a go. That's not a particularly good idea. These men here realize that as they lose half their unit in mere seconds and get out of there. Another unit of Katana Ashigarus trying to make the attack in earnest, but they're losing tons of men. The general's backing them up, but he's going to have the exact same problem. They did get one good attack here on our right, where some Yari cavalry attacked some of my light cavalry. That's a fight that will go the enemy's way if left unattended. Luckily I had some Naginatas to rush in there and take part in the battle as well, so we'll be able to win because of that. And the very short fight on the front lines comes to an immediate end. They barely had any troops here at all, and they're going to flee and now be pursued by more arrows and gunfire as they go. So that didn't go very well for the enemy. The battle wasn't actually over, because they did have some sort of plan, it seems. They had 2 units of bow samurai in a hidden position here off to their flank. It looks like 1 unit, but it's 2 standing right on top of each other. And I was able to detect them and then come in for a rear attack with all of our cavalry. They didn't seem to expect this, didn't even react, so we just slammed in there. And since they've already lost most of their army, they're already on low morale, so we don't really need to kill many of them to defeat that unit, which is good because our cavalry aren't all that good anyway. So that's a decisive victory. Nice and easy, even easier than expected really, and the losses on our side were negligible in comparison to what the enemy lost. They lost something like 10 times more than we did, and of course that clears the route into their territory for us now without having to fight that big stack there. Now the question was, could we do anything with this win? Unfortunately, we can't go on to attack their capital right now. We don't have the movement points. We can sneak back into our own territory here, which is nice since we'll avoid attrition. But now that I was back here, I realised the position their main force has slightly moved to is in reinforcement range of Kurokawa. That means we can actually attack them and try and take them out. I didn't know if this was necessary. It could be possible to defeat the Matsuda without fighting this army, but I decided, just for safety, let's go for it. Let's fight this force. It's got some interesting units. They've got some matchlocks of their own in there and some mangonels, but we do have overwhelming numbers. It seems like we should be able to win. We just need to play things carefully to make sure the enemy's strengths are neutralized. So to start this battle, I'm hiding all of Yoshiaki's force in a forest, but for Yoshiaki himself, since he can't hide, he's just going to sit at the back of the map for now. We just need to wait for Kurokawa's army to come onto the field and get itself into a position wherefrom it can attack the enemy. But the enemy are in an interesting position themselves. They're on the reverse side of a hill, so we can't really see them and can't really attack them very well unless we can get up on the hill. And they've got their mangonels back there as well, and those things can fire over the hill. So realizing this, I'm going to do a classic strategy, the same strategy you will have seen me using in my Attila series I've got going at the moment. That is to just have something wandering around inside the range of those siege weapons so they'll attack it, and then just be really careful to try and not take any losses from that attack by microing that one unit to waste enemy ammo. At the same time, the enemy did make an attack on my main force here. I think they were sending those cavalry to attack Yoshiaki in the background, but they didn't realize my whole line was in between them and Yoshiaki. So very quickly they were caught up on some Naginata samurai, then I slammed into them with my own cav to finish them off, and that very quickly was the end of that. So we can now go back into hiding, keep wasting the enemy's ammo, and then get into position to start the battle properly. For a brave and brilliant new world we march! Yes, on that hill are those who would muddy the might of Japan. They say no to the world. They shun them like a disgraced son hides from his mother. What will the Nanban think of us? That we are weak and vulnerable like them? No, no, that must change. They must see that the Japanese are the height of civilization, and are those who differentiate between light and dark, and moreover know that the difference is but slight and of hidden use. Yes, there will be those who do not understand the future, those that do not know how to conquer this world. Soon those idiots will lie dead, and the men who will found a new, stronger generation will walk tall, laden with loot, and pure in the eyes of the great creator and master of reality. No other end will I accept, but this dream made real. Any man who does not agree should run now to join the dying breed on that hill. The rest of you, say prayers for victory and for the health of Lord Yoshiaki. Once I'd set up, ready to go in to make my attack, the enemy decided to make a little attack towards me. They sent another unit of cavalry out on a one-unit mission. I'm not sure why they keep doing this, but it's fine by me. This time they were going after my cavalry on my flank. So they start chasing towards them, and they just end up running behind our army, where I had some spears, Yoshiaki, and those cavalry, of course, to team up and destroy that unit pretty easily. So that was a good start. Now we can go back to slowly advancing towards the enemy and trying to work out how we're going to assault this hill. The focus now shifted to Kurokawa because the enemy's gun troops came down from the hill for a bit of a skirmish with our archers. That was fine by me because while they outrange us, we can just shuffle forwards and get 4 units of archers to engage with their 1 of guns. And while guns may be pretty good, they do have a slow fire rate and they're inaccurate if these guys aren't experts like our troops. So I'm hoping for an easy win, and you can see the barrage of arrows leaves their front line so sparse that when they actually come to fire, barely any guys are still standing to fire those weapons, so they're really doing no damage to us. Quickly, most of the units gone, and they're going to start routing. So that was very easy. Perhaps the enemy thought they could use those gunners as their silver bullet, but it's just not going to happen. Now they decided to go back to an old favourite strategy. One more unit of cavalry appeared to rush towards Yoshiaki. It appeared once again to be going for the cavalry that the previous unit had wanted to defeat, but this time I could just put these Naganatas in front of our cav so they can't do it. They turn and seem to go towards our main line, but they get caught and are forced to stop, thus exposing themselves to a rear attack from these Jumanji Yari samurai who will just absolutely annihilate them. So that's a really powerful unit of cav gone. They started moving another unit of cav in our direction, and on the hill things were just shuffling about. It looked like they wanted to come and attack Kurokawa. They started going towards his force, but then ran away when they came into range of our archers, so they weren't really sure what they were going to do there. Meanwhile, the second unit of cav that came to support the attack on Yoshiaki came into the exact same deadly situation and was also defeated, so we have really whittled them down before the fight even really started. So many powerful units already gone, and now they're starting to commit to a more substantial attack. Cavalry and archers moving forwards towards Kurokawa. I was moving my archers backwards, except these bandits, who I think were subject to some sort of skirmishing bug and actually ran in the opposite direction to the rest of the line, thus taking an attack. Well, that's just their problem now, not so much of a loss. Along the rest of the line, the engagements are going to be pretty steady. A tiny bit dodgy here on our left when the enemy samurai attacked our Ashigaru, but we do have local samurai who we can use to just outflank the enemy there and demoralize them. Lots of cavalry fighting our spears, overall good stuff, and Yoshiaki's army is going to start folding out to the right to get into a position to support this attack. There's actually now very little left standing in front of him for him to engage. We managed to break through a tiny bit in the centre and get some samurai forwards to engage the enemy's archers in melee, and on our right we just annihilated their cav and are now rushing forwards as well. In the centre, our samurai having an okay time against their Katan Ashigaru, backed up by our Yari Ashigaru in Yari Wall, and their general as well, going to have no effect on that battle there. We defeated their samurai on the left, so those units are now freed up to finish off the local enemy force, as we pretty much have them at this point. This unit of cav was indecisive, taking a volley of matchlock fire. It didn't want to advance any further, but when it stopped, it then got engaged by our spear troops, and then attacked from the rear by all of these samurai, so they are just going to be swamped and destroyed pretty much instantly. So now, the enemy don't have much left on the hill. Everything that came down has just been destroyed, so we're now in a pretty good position to finish them off. I was still being careful, didn't want to waste any troops trying to do this little hill assault. First I took out their mangonels at the back using our cavalry, easy enough. Then, to deal with some bow samurai who were sitting on a little ridge, I moved up the firebomb throwers to just hit them with this rain of grenades. Our firebomb throwers are experienced and accurate, so pretty much all the shots land right in the unit, completely annihilating them, and they get out of there. That left a few archers up at the top. I could have run up towards them, but I thought it would be quicker to just fire arrows at them since their army's half dead. A couple of casualties will cause those units to rout. They go. This unit of Naganatas outside of the hill, which was being attacked by my cav, routs just as we hit them, so that gets rid of them. And they also had more bow samurai hidden in the forest away from their position, so that's strange. The second battle in a row where the enemy's done that, and I'd never seen it before, so I don't know what's causing that behaviour. But anyway, the important point is, that's a nice decisive victory. This is the final substantial army of the Matsuda taken down. They lost something like 4 or 5 times what we lost, and we're going to be in our own territory, so we'll get our replenishment to probably end up having no losses at all by the end of the turn. So that's the end of that. One unit going to escape up to the north. We can just leave them there for now. The question is, what can we do with this victory? Can we move on and actually attack them? We don't have any movement points, unfortunately, so the answer is going to be no. But we can just wait around, get some of our troops back, and see what the situation is in the next turn. The enemy may recruit more troops, but we're definitely going to have a numerical advantage going forwards. Here is the next turn, and nothing happened. As you can see, the situation is exactly the same in the next turn, surprisingly. They just didn't do anything. So, because of that, Yoshiaki is now in position to besiege their capital. Unfortunately, Kurokawa can't get into position, at least it seemed, to help him out, but he actually can get just about into reinforcement range. The reinforcement range on that castle was very large, as we've seen with many other castles in this area for some reason. So here's the battle setup. They've got a pretty substantial garrison inside with loads of decent units and tons of Ashigaru reinforcing. So that means even though we have 2 stacks here, the balance bar isn't all that far in our favour. However, we don't have to make that attack right now. We can make the situation better for ourselves by looking over to the other front, which is now very close to Yoshiaki's front, I must say. We can get Kurokawa out of his little garrison to support Yoshishige in his siege, and I realised I could actually bring everything out because we're going to be so close to the castle that we can take part in the battle and then go back to avoid any public order issues. So we can do this battle instead. It's the same balance bar, but there's a nice opportunity here because we can actually fight two separate battles essentially. First defeat their reinforcements, then do a relatively easy castle assault, and this win will make Yoshiaki's life a lot easier as well.
General, it is time to apply your expertise. We have sighted 1,000 or so troops heading this way. I want this castle taken before they arrive. Understood? My lord, those 1,000 men can only be the ones we saw last week, marching towards Harima. That is likely the case. Does that grant them such a fearsome reputation? I was thinking of our lord. These men likely intend to reinforce the Matsuda and prevent the fall of the eastern castle. We should ambush them here to spare Lord Yoshiaki the trouble. It's his trouble to deal with, General, not ours, and we certainly don't need it. Every second you waste thinking about it is another step closer they are to lining those walls with troops. What will he say if he learns we have passed up this opportunity? He won't learn of it. He will if I tell him. What? My lord, I apologize. I've had enough of your apologies. You can kiss my father's feet when you meet again. At least spare me the pointless posturing until then. You don't care at all for your father's safety? I don't care at all for your insinuations. You would manipulate me into putting my life on the line. Did father command you to do this? Not at all, lord. I merely wish to serve the clan. I am the clan. Not yet, my lord. You are no servant of the Otomo, only of one crazy man with an Otomo banner. But, General, I am going to kill those men. Not for you, but for me. Let the fall of the Matsuda be the work of Otomo Yoshishige. Not of you, not of father, just the will of the Lord and the strength of his chosen servant. So be it, Lord. Thank you. Hold your tongue! You will speak nothing of all this to anyone. These orders are mine and mine alone. You'll stay quiet, or the ladies of the night will be paying you a visit.
So those reinforcements crash onto our prepared position. I'm using Yari walls to halt the enemy on a small hill. Our skirmishing didn't do all that much to them, and a lot of our troops skirmished incorrectly, so we did actually lose some archers to the enemy's charge, unfortunately. There are some bow ashigaru taking part in that melee. Not very good. Elsewhere, we've got some samurai taking on some enemy Yari ashigaru. That's much better. We've also kited away some of their troops there with our cav. I wanted to make some cav attacks, but since the enemy are pretty much all spears, it's a tiny bit difficult to do that. Yoshishige is using the stand and fight formation to buff our front line, but that front line's already doing pretty well as it is. The Yari walls give us an advantage over the enemy's Yaris who aren't using the same formation. Pretty soon they rout, they don't have a general, and they were severely outnumbered, so that makes sense. Now as they rout, they will all just be destroyed, much of them routing into the units they were fighting. Needed to take down these archers. Finally my cav can be of use in this, we'll take them down. And that's going to be the end of this first stage of the fight. We do need to chase down as much routing stuff as we can, since all of these troops could theoretically be taking part in the battle that Yoshiaki wants to fight, so it's nice to kill them. Although here, I actually got too close to the enemy's castle walls and got shot by some of their archers, so we have to stay away from them. They did even have this other unit that was just standing here. Eventually it came over to fight us, but I could just deploy all of my archers to rain arrows onto these guys. They're only ashigaru, and they're completely isolated, so we don't really need to actually attack them properly to get rid of them. They take a few casualties, then rout as my men just walk up to be near them, and that's going to be the end of that for them, so we'll have to chase them down as well. So now we need to focus on making a castle assault. I wanted to do this with Chikaharu's forces. They're taking absolutely ages to come over, but once they're in position we'll have lots of samurai to use to make the capture relatively safe. And I'm going to use my cavalry to block the enemy's retreat path. They were retreating to the northwest of the map for some reason, so I could just take them out in single file as they went up to that corner and be nice and safe far away from the castle. So now I can use all my archers to start weakening everything inside the castle. We've got no rush anymore, so we might as well just use up a ton of ammo to make it super easy to get in and really minimize our casualties. Not that it especially matters in this situation since the war is nearing its end. Their best unit, their samurai, inside the castle were decimated by arrow fire. That is good to see, and also kind of them to come over near my archers to investigate what was going on, since that gave me the opportunity to do that. They've done the same thing with some more Ashigaru here, so now we're going to wipe them out as well. And pretty soon we're into the castle. We didn't face any opposition because we took out so much of the enemy using archers. We just walked in and sat on the capture point. They did have one more unit in another part of the castle that reacted far too slowly and didn't take part in the fight at all in the end. So that's a nice decisive victory. Very clean in both phases of the battle. Really low losses in comparison to what the enemy took, and we took the castle, and most importantly we killed all of their reinforcements. That means that Yoshiaki's siege is going to look a lot easier. So first I'll occupy this place, and I realized I could immediately just walk right out and have Yoshishige's full stack now join the battle against the final Matsuda region. Chikuharu has to go backwards to prevent a rebellion, but that's not going to be a problem. We've got so much stuff here now that we absolutely overwhelm the Matsuda. It is over for them.
Come closer. Please, Lord, make it quick.
As you wish. Yoshishige, my noble son, you have fought heroically, or so I have heard. You deserve to be the one who strikes the final blow.
Thank you, Father.
It will be my greatest honor to see in this new era for our people. The light of the
Mercy,
Lord,
my boy. He asked for it quick. So be it. Head forward.
Oh. No, that'll do. He didn't ask for it quick and clean, after all. So passes the last of the Matsuda. His fiefs are now formally bestowed upon the Otomo, to be distributed to loyal and deserving servants. Of these, few will hail from the surviving lords of this land, for not only did they defy me without any sense of righteousness, but they did so with such a lack of skill that even their ancestors will be disowning them. In this new age, the enlightened and the mighty are one and the same, and they march beneath this banner. The banner that not only symbolizes the might of the Otomo, but now the might of Japan. Soon it shall be the only banner, and might shall be our only export. With Matsuda gone, we're now going to start thinking long term. We need to think about the possibility of realm divide. We're about 3/4 of the way to it happening, and that is the event where every clan will declare war on you at the behest of the shogun/emperor. So once we take a couple more regions, we'll probably be there. So what we want to do is make those captures as strategic as possible to leave us in a really strong position to resist the onslaught of enemy armies that may arrive. One move I'm going to make to start getting us towards this point is to break our relations with the Tachibana. This clan has been pretty good to us in that, even though they really hate us like most clans, they haven't really done anything against us. They just keep breaking alliances and trade deals, but everyone does that with us, so that's not so bad. However, we're now going to get to the point where we have no obligations to them, so that we can just attack them if we need to, because they do control a very crucial part of Kyushu that is actually right now preventing us from moving between western and eastern Kyushu. We don't have any route between these territories over here in the west and the east, other than going all the way around the southern part of the island. I've actually already prepared forces there, as you might note, but we'll talk more about them in the future. First, I'm going to do a little experiment. I've recruited these units, these Dondobus boats. This is effectively a medium bune, but it replaces the archers with guys with shotguns. So we're going to test them out in this battle, which came up since the Waco pirates started blockading one of my minor trade ports. So what you need to do with these ships is get very close to the enemy since they have a very short range. But once they are close, they act a bit like matchlock troops, only each shot breaks apart into multiple shots, so you have a pretty decent chance of hitting something. Although, that said, the Waco trade ship is the perfect counter to this sort of attack because the railings on the side of the trade ship are actually everything proof. So you can probably see here some of our shots look like they should be hitting something but aren't because those railings there on the side block hits. That means we're not actually doing all that much damage with these attacks, although they also do inflict a morale shock similar to matchlock, so you don't have to kill too many of the enemy to get them to surrender or rout. Using that, we are going to be able to clean up this trade fleet pretty easily. Even without them, we'd probably get it eventually, although I did note here in this engagement that these Waco crews are very powerful. I tried to board one of the ships using the crew of a medium bunny, but everyone who jumped in just gets cut down really quickly. These Waco crews are powerful. I guess the medium bunnies don't have the best crew, but I thought we'd be able to have at least somewhat of an advantage against the enemy's much inferior numbers, but no, they completely wiped us out, and much of the crew are just staying back on the ship there. As we can see, I guess they don't want to get involved. Luckily, in this particular case, the enemy ship just surrendered anyway at this point because it was surrounded and was starting to take arrow fire, and we could have given them some shotgun blasts as well. So that was the end of that. Now what I'm going to be doing is moving Yoshiaki and the main force, and Yoshishige in fact, back towards Kyushu as part of my plan to prepare for Realm Divide. So they're going to get into some strategic positions to help secure the island. Meanwhile, it's going to be up to Kurokawa and Kobayakawa to hold the front line here in Honshu. I'm just going to station them in the relevant castles and upgrade their armies a bit. We're pretty rich, so we can give them some superior troops and make them a bit more reliable, give them more samurai if we can. Now I noted here there's another naval convention building up, this time right outside all of our trading ports here. Tons of clans with various ships, so if war start here they could very easily damage our trade income. So we're going to need some pretty big fleets in the area ourselves. I'm going to start putting something together and I'll get some Donderbus ships to go and join that fleet. Now we're not actually completely at peace, we need to remember, we are still at war with the Amako. They didn't want to not be at war because while we have a gigantic advantage strategically, since they haven't lost any battles, they probably feel like things are still going okay. I noted here that the Aso, who betrayed us before, are going to be another possible target. We're allied to them, they're our vassal in fact, I seem to remember, so we will have to spend some time breaking up our relations to do that in an honourable way, but it might be worth it because they are going to be on the list of key betrayal candidates. There are a couple of clans out there who actually like us a little bit. It's the ones that have spawned into the game recently, so don't have that massive alliance with enemy clan debuff. The Yamana right there happen to be on our border, you may remember, and that means that their slight trust in me is probably unfounded. I'm going to start spying on them because they might be the next potential target for an invasion. It's just the times we live in. The war for Western Honshu ended in a complete victory for the Otomo, both militarily and spiritually. Most of the conquered peoples converted to Christianity rapidly. More and more Nanban missionaries were found across the land, all drawing eager congregations. And each ship that brought a new missionary would return to the European colonies with Matsuda prisoners of war. It had been some time since most had heard of someone they knew being taken by the barbarian slavers. Had the practice finally halted? Yoshishige was ensuring it slowed, for new converts at least, but Yoshiaki could not allow it to stop before his expensive work was done. That is it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and very special thanks as always to the OfficiallyDevin patrons who make all of this happen. So our preparations for the Realm Divide will bring some drama to the very courts of the Shogun himself in the next episode of Barbarian Masters.